You've been told the world is solid, that it moves without care for your will, that it's this unshakable mass of systems, rules, power you just have to endure. But what if that's the first lie you were ever taught? Because the truth is brutal and freeing. The world doesn't move until you do. Most people drift like leaves on wind, praying the wind is kind. But the rare few, the ones you admire, fear, envy, they don't drift. They bend reality. They think in a way that rewires their gravity, and suddenly people orbit them. Doors unlock, resistance turns to reverence. You see them and think they were born lucky, that they had advantages, but if you watched them closely, really studied their rise, you'd see something else entirely. A pattern of thinking so sharp it slices through excuses, limits, logic. They don't beg for the world's permission. They command its attention, and that mindset, you can choose it. It starts here. Every thought you think is either a blueprint or a barrier. Every belief is either building your empire or sealing your fate. And most people, they're building prisons and calling them homes. You wake up and immediately check your phone. You scroll, compare, shrink, before the sun even warms your face. Your worth has been auctioned off to people who don't even know you. That's not thinking, that's surrender. But imagine instead you open your eyes and speak one truth that detonates fear. Today bends to me, not because you're magical, not because the universe owes you, but because your mind is the only architecture that decides whether you live in chaos or control. Let me tell you something they won't teach you in school. The world doesn't reward effort. It rewards intention. You can grind forever, hustle in circles, work yourself into dust, but if you're not thinking with precision, if you're not shaping every action through a lens of bold clarity, then all your motion is noise. You become a worker in someone else's dream, a pawn on someone else's board. But when you think like a sculptor, chipping away every false belief, every limit, every comfort zone, you begin to see the world shift slightly, then more, then wildly. Your thoughts carry a frequency. Speak in doubt and the world echoes it. Speak in power and it listens. Most people think in loops, same thoughts, same doubts, recycled fears, wearing new costumes. I can't do it. It's too late. What if I fail? That's not thought. That's decay. But the mind that wins, the mind that bends the world, doesn't rehearse defeat. It rehearses dominance, not over others, over self. You don't need more hours, you need better questions, the right ones. Like, what's one move today that multiplies everything? What would the version of me I admire never tolerate? What belief is quietly stealing my future right now? That's power thinking. Thinking that cuts through fog. Because here's the paradox no one wants to face. You are the reason it hasn't happened yet. Not luck, not timing. You, the door you're waiting to open, is one thought away, but you haven't dared to think it. Because deep down, you're still negotiating with fear. Still trying to make everyone comfortable while you rot inside. Let that die. No one's coming. And the day you accept that is the day the world starts turning your way. Not because it suddenly likes you, but because you stopped waiting and started bending. When you walk into a room and believe you don't belong, the world agrees. But when you walk in and own your energy, eyes forward, heart focused, mind calm, the world takes notes. People bend to those who know who they are. Think like this. Your thoughts are auditions for your future. Every time you speak defeat, you reject greatness. Every time you think with clarity, fire, and focus, you hire the next level of your life. But it's not magic. It's war. A war against comfort, against laziness, against the cheap high. Thinking like this requires a discipline most people aren't willing to practice because it burns away every excuse that protects their ego. You don't get to bend the world while clinging to who you were. That version of you, soft, scared, quiet, has to die. Not someday, not after a sign, now. And in its place, you build a new mental kingdom. One where thoughts are weapons, beliefs are shields, purpose is the compass. You don't rise by being liked. You rise by being undeniable. People feel it when your mind is unshakable. It makes them uncomfortable. It makes them respect you. It makes them follow. So the real question is, what version of you walks into tomorrow? The default, hesitant, downloaded you by society self, or the forged, focused, relentless architect who stares down resistance like an old friend? Because when your thoughts rise, everything else follows. You'll speak differently, walk differently, create differently, and the world slowly, then suddenly, will tilt in your direction. Not because it changed, but because you did. There's a hidden law you were never told, not in school, not at home, not even in the books you think changed your life. Here it is. The world does not respond to your needs, it responds to your standards. And most people, their standards are dirt low. They tolerate delay, they normalize mediocrity, they make peace with almost disciplined, almost healed, almost brave. But the world never bends for almost. It only bends for those who make a non-negotiable decision to raise the bar permanently. You think people with power are lucky? No. They're allergic to just enough. They don't chase motivation. They set standards so high that motivation becomes irrelevant. Either they rise or they suffocate. This is what separates you from the version of yourself that wins. Not talent, not time, standards. The version of you that commands the room, that gets the deal, that feels peace in a storm. That version only shows up when your standards become sacred. No exceptions, no discounts, no negotiation with weakness. But here's the catch. The world will test your new standards the moment you raise them. People will try to drag you back into comfort. Life will throw chaos at you like it always has. But the difference now, you don't flinch, because once your mind decides that certain things are no longer acceptable, being broke, being ignored, being a passenger in your own life, then reality has no choice but to recalibrate. This is the bend, the friction before the shift. And yes, it's uncomfortable. The people you love might not understand you anymore. Your own mind will scream for the old patterns, the easy habits, the low-level thinking that kept you safe. But you're not here for safe. You're here to build a life that makes safety irrelevant. You want results? Think like someone who expects them. Most people think they're manifesting when they're really begging, hoping, whispering to the universe without conviction. But the mind that truly bends reality speaks with certainty. It doesn't ask for change, it assumes it. You don't say, I want to be successful. You say, this is who I am now. You don't say, I hope I break this pattern. You say, that version of me is gone. It's not delusion, it's direction. Delusion is believing things will change while you stay the same. Direction is becoming the force that makes change inevitable. And once your identity upgrades, the world will start rearranging itself in ways that seem supernatural, but they're not. They're just logical consequences of new thinking. You'll say no more often. You'll drop dead weight. You'll outgrow conversations, habits, distractions that once defined you. And people will say, you've changed. Good, that's the point. What they really mean is, I can't control you anymore. And they're right, because your mind is now under your jurisdiction, not theirs. You've stopped outsourcing your power. Understand this, the mind that bends the world is not reactive, it's proactive. It doesn't wait for storms to pass, it becomes the storm. It doesn't wait to be chosen, it chooses itself and moves like that choice was divine law. That's the mindset of the few, the ones who walk into rooms and silence them. The ones who get labeled arrogant, difficult, obsessed, and yet they're the ones we remember. They're the ones who leave fingerprints on the future. And you have that in you, but it's buried under years of soft thoughts. Be realistic. Take it slow. Don't be too much. These are the lullabies that put your potential to sleep. It's time to wake it up, because here's the truth you can't outrun. The version of you the world respects is the one that respects itself first. Speak like you matter, move like you matter, decide like you matter, and eventually the world won't be able to ignore the signal you're sending, not because it wants to help, but because it has no choice. Power isn't loud, it's certain, and that certainty is built one thought at a time. Every time you say, I don't do that anymore, power. Every time you say, that's not who I am, power. Every time you stay calm in chaos, power. Every time you act with precision instead of panic, power. This is how the bending begins. Not overnight, not all at once, but inch by inch, your thoughts become sharp enough to cut through the noise. You stop reacting to circumstances and start creating outcomes. Because that's what thinkers do, real thinkers. They don't guess, they don't hope, they see, they claim, they become. And the world, it doesn't bow to effort, it bows to identity. Here's the truth, you can read every book, listen to every podcast, post every quote, and still live in mental chains until you change how you think. Nothing changes how you live. But the moment your thinking becomes precise, aggressive, pure, the world starts glitching, rules break, Time bends, people shift. It feels like magic, but it's just a mirror, reflecting what you finally believed you deserved. And here's the moment where most people fall off. When the external world hasn't caught up yet. When they're thinking higher, moving sharper, but the results haven't landed. That's where the weak revert, but not you. You hold the line. You let your new thoughts dig into the soil like roots. You become unshakable because you've seen what happens when you wait, when you doubt, when you think small. Never again. This time, you're building a reality from the inside out, quietly, ruthlessly, thought by thought, decision by decision. No need for applause, no need for validation, just relentless mental elevation. And soon, it'll bend, because it always does, for the ones who think like this. By now, you've felt it, the pull, that pressure in your chest, when you realize the world has always been shapeable, but only by those who dared to believe they were the sculptor. And if you've made it this far, then somewhere deep inside, you know you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to bend what others obey. But let's not romanticize it. Bending the world isn't about vibes or manifestation journals. It's about confrontation. First with your thoughts, then with your patterns, finally with your entire identity. Because the real reason people don't rise isn't fear. It's familiarity. They cling to a version of themselves that fits inside the world's expectations, a small self, a digestible self, one that keeps others comfortable even if it keeps them miserable. And that version, and completely powerless. If that version is still alive in you, kill it, because the world only bends when you become something it has to notice. When you stop sending mixed signals, when you finally decide without apology who you are, what you will allow, and what the next level of your life requires. And here's what it requires: thinking like you've already won. This is the mental cheat code. It flips the power dynamic. Instead of reacting to what's around you, you respond as if the outcome is inevitable. You speak from arrival, not desperation. You move from certainty, not scarcity. Most people say, "I'll think like a winner when I win." That's backward. That's why they lose. The ones who win, they think like the end has already happened. They rehearse it, they embody it, they speak it, and the world, it bends in confusion, then submission. This isn't arrogance, it's authorship. You are writing the script now, and the world is catching up, but thinking like this comes with a cost. And here it is. You'll be misunderstood. You'll be called delusional. You'll outgrow people who once inspired you. You'll feel alone in rooms where you used to feel safe. That's not failure, that's friction. Friction between who you were and who you're becoming. Hold that line, because just beyond that discomfort is power. Quiet power. The kind that doesn't shout but still shakes the room. The kind that needs no announcement because its presence is enough. You'll notice something strange start to happen. The world stops pushing back. Opportunities begin to show up uninvited. The exact people you once chased now seek you out. And it won't make sense to others. Let them stay confused. You are not here to be understood. You're here to be unforgettable. And if that means solitude, let it. If that means rejection, embrace it. If that means starting over 1,000 times, because every setback is still bending to your will, if your mind remains unshaken. Here's a rule most will never tell you. If your mindset can't be broken, neither can your momentum. The world will throw chaos, loss, fatigue, failure. But if your thoughts remain locked on vision, every storm becomes your training ground. That's how reality is bent. Not by wishing, not by force, but by unwavering mental gravity. It's not positive thinking, it's dominant thinking. Thoughts that walk ahead of evidence. Words that sound like prophecy. Energy that makes doubt uncomfortable in your presence. Because when your internal world is aligned, the external one obeys. You'll see it in little things first. A conversation that goes your way. An opportunity that lands just in time. A moment of peace you never had before. But then it scales. Your career shifts. Your income multiplies. Your circle sharpens. Not by accident, but by design. You thought this was a speech. It's not. It's a blueprint for bending. Bending your morning by refusing to wake up reactive. Bending your schedule by saying no like your time is sacred. Bending your results by moving as if they already belong to you. Bending your fate by no longer thinking like a survivor, but like a sculptor. And no one sees it at first. They won't clap, they won't cheer, but you'll know, you'll feel it. the shift, the stillness, the space you created just by thinking differently. So let them doubt you, let them laugh, let them call you too much, too focused, too intense, because one day they'll call you something else, unstoppable. And when that day comes, you won't be surprised because you already knew. You saw it first, not with your eyes, but with your thoughts. You believed before the evidence. You declared before the proof. And now, the world that ignored you bends to your direction. Not because it wanted to, because you made it. So if there's one sentence you never forget, let it be this: think like you've already won, and the world will follow orders. And if you're ready for what's next, don't wait. The world won't bend for someone still hoping. It bends for someone who's already decided.